Welcome back to the Notes to the Sun podcast. I'm your host, KGB. And as many of you know, this is a podcast where I share a lot of the lessons that I've learned in life, oftentimes a little too late, but I did it so you won't have to. Today's episode is called White Gay Bitch. And I know, but stay with me. Any of you who follow this podcast, you know that I was raised without a father in a home. My mother and father divorced when I was 1 year of age. So growing up, I didn't learn what it truly meant to be a man. Instead, I learned what a man was not supposed to be. And unfortunately, this is the case for a lot of young Black boys growing up. Our manhood isn't defined by a clear vision, a concise philosophy about what it means to be a man. It's actually defined by guardrails, constraints, unwritten rules. You don't act white, you don't act gay, and you don't act like a bitch. That's it. That was the blueprint. Those were the only three rules that I had in order to be a Black man. The only three rules that I needed to follow. Little did I know at the time that these rules, they actually were stunting my growth and development as a man and sabotaging my own self-interest and the interests of my family and community. In today's Notes to the Sun, we're going to explore how these rules are a reflex to African enslavement and how our adherence to these rules continues that enslavement and perpetuates a slave mentality. Let's chop it up. Feel good, feel good. Welcome back to Notes to the Sun, everyone. There's actually a term for what it is that I described earlier, and it's called via negativa. And via negativa is Latin for the negative way, and it means defining something not by what it is, but by what it isn't. And that's how a lot of us, particularly young Black men, how we learned about manhood, not through expansion, but through elimination. I spent so many years filtering my thoughts, my behavior, my choices through three questions. And those questions were, is it white? Is it gay? Or is this some type of bitch behavior? And whatever survived that filter, whatever made it out on the other side, that's what I told myself it meant to be a Black man. But here's the problem. What if the things that you've been taught to avoid are actually the very things that could help you, help your family, help your community, and help you become whole? Let's start with so-called white behavior. Now, I know that there's been a change in self-care, mental health, and the activities of African American people. But when I was growing up, certain activities were just labeled as off limits. Golf was considered white, camping, white, hiking, white. Being out in nature like that, nah, that wasn't for us. But we were getting it wrong because spending time outdoors actually reduces your stress. It improves your mood. It boosts your physical health and your immunity. It enhances your focus and your creativity. Nature literally resets your nervous system. It really does. But we were taught that those spaces didn't belong to us. You just didn't go there. And if you don't go, unfortunately, guess what happens? You don't benefit. So now something that could heal you, your family, and your community never even becomes an option. But this is all a reflex, a response to our enslavement. When your exploration and when your travel is dictated and controlled by another human being, and when you decide to do those things on your own and it is actually punished by death, then you absolutely evolve into a people where travel and exploration is not only discouraged, but it is considered the privilege of your former slave master. Travel, exploration, entering spaces that were once denied to you is probably one of the most revolutionary things that you could do as an African American. arrogantly, blatantly flaunt your presence to the world and say, I am here and I am not going anywhere. And there is no space on this earth that I am not allowed to enter. This is what freedom looks like. Freedom does not look like you staying in the same place that you were raised in and never going outside of those city lines. That is enslavement. Man, if you've never been on a golf course, you absolutely should, because you will find it absolutely criminal that all this acreage, all this land was once denied to you, and that you are voluntarily deciding that you're going to let another human being have it, that you're actually going to voluntarily let other individuals experience it. I encourage every single one of you, even if you don't know how to golf, grab a set of clubs, go to or borrow a set of clubs, go to those golf courses and fuck up somebody's lawn like it's yours. For a lot of young black men, the worst thing that you could be called was not even white. It was gay. That was probably the largest guardrail that I had in my development as a man. Like, yeah, we'll even tolerate some white behavior, but the last thing that we'll do is be able to tolerate any behavior that we have labeled or deemed as homosexual and allow you within our circle of men, allow you within the camaraderie of black manhood. So as I got older and I started to really focus on my own personal development, my own personal growth, I started to see that my own behavior was starting to look like what I had traditionally labeled as gay. And the reason why is because for a lot of us, that label gets attached to anything involving self-care, pedicures, skincare, therapy, even basic emotional check-ins. Nah, dog, that's sus. That's soft. But what is self-care anyways? It's just maintenance. It's preserving your mental health. It's making sure that you are strong enough to carry out your responsibilities. Without it, stress builds up, burnout creeps in, your mental health declines. And what happens when a man breaks down? Because he was never allowed to maintain himself? Well, we all of a sudden act surprised when this brother falls apart. And the crazy part about it is by denying us of those things that would benefit us that we label as gay, by denying ourselves of those things, we usually crash and are unable to perform our responsibilities as men. So by denying ourselves of gay behavior, we actually deplete ourselves and prevent ourselves from being men. Before we jump into the next topic, brothers, can you do me a favor? Can we put a pause on the whole pause phenomenon? You know, that thing when brothers are having a conversation with each other and then another brother actually says something that the other one deems might be homosexual. So he interrupts the conversation by saying, pause. Can we put a pause on that? And the reason being is this: I actually have conversations with brothers, and a goddamn 5-minute conversation ends up being 15 minutes because you said pause every goddamn sentence that has come out of my mouth, because you feel as if you are the personal gay police, that you got to put guardrails around my dialogue so that you can feel comfortable. So let me just address something real quickly, and I'll make it quick. If you uttering a phrase is going to be the difference between you liking or disliking dick, I got breaking news for you. You like dick. But self-care is not just a problem for African American men. It's an issue with men nationwide. We are actually having a difficult time coming to grips with the fact that caring for ourselves is a responsibility, and it also is what makes us a man. The problem is that we are going through, as African American men, what every man in this society is going through, but it is compounded by the fact that historically we were not allowed to care for ourselves. Therein lies the problem. So that even if we want to take care of ourselves, we are not capable of doing it. There is a slave master in our head that is constantly telling us what we can and can't do. There's a slave master in your head, black man, that when you decide to get a pedicure and a manicure, that when you decide to get a massage, when you decide to go to the spa, when you decide to seek out the advice of a mental health professional, when you decide that you are going to cry, when you decide that you are going to hug another black man and give him a kiss, when you decide that you are going to confide in another black man your deepest and most intimate emotions and feelings, there's a slave master inside of your goddamn head that says, pause. Then there's the last one, bitch. And this is the one that might be most damaging of all because it polices our emotions. Crying, oh, that's weak. Expressing fear, that's weak. Admitting hurt, that's weak. So what do? We bottle it up, right? And to be clear, black men, we've learned to suppress this emotion for a reason. Our suppression of our emotions is something that you are automatically going to do anyways as men, right? That is a part of this European-centered, Eurocentric culture is to suppress femininity. That is just a part of this culture. So growing up as a man in America, you are going to learn to suppress your emotion, but it is compounded by your enslavement. It is multiplied exponentially by the fact that you were taught that you could not express your true feelings. What type of emotions do you think a black man experienced during enslavement? When he watched his wife being raped, when he saw his children being carted away, when he saw his brothers being castrated and hung, what type of fucking emotions do you think he felt? Emotions that he was told that he could not express without threatening his own life and the lives of his remaining family members. We have been conditioned to suppress anything and everything that we feel because it was survival. Emotional expression for us was just not safe. So the suppression of those emotions, it just made sense back then. But right now, it does not serve us. It is the reflex of a slave. But what has helped us to survive back then is now slowly killing us because emotional expression isn't weakness. It's actually called processing. It's a release. It's how you prevent anxiety, depression, explosive anger. And if you can't express what you feel, let's be clear, it does not disappear. It just finds another way out. That is why so many of us in our communities are hurting, are angry, are scared, but they can't say it. It's not cool to tell your brothers, I'm hurting. It's not cool to say, you know what, I joined this gang because I'm scared. It's not cool to say, you know what, baby, I couldn't get up out of bed today because I'm weak. It's not cool to say, you know what, I'm gonna go into this room today and I'm just gonna have a good cry. It's not cool to say these things. So we bottle it up. And not only is it not cool, but it goes against one of the very basic tenets of black manhood. You can't be a bitch. So we as black men, we have to ask ourselves a very real question, and that is, what happens when our definitions of manhood forces us to reject the very things that are going to make us healthier? It's going to make us more present. It's going to make us more whole. Because here's the truth, right? When we strip away exploration, when we strip away self-care, when we strip away emotional expression, we actually don't become stronger. We become limited. And then you pass those limits down to your sons, to your nephews, and to the next generation. It is incumbent upon you. It is your obligation to your sons to get them to explore, get them to travel, get them out and about in the world, get them to see nature. It is your responsibility as a father to make sure that you let your children know that taking care of themselves is actually not homosexual. One's sexuality has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you take care of yourself. However, one's manhood does. That if you are truly going to be a man, you must take care of yourself before you can take care of others. If you are truly going to be a man, you need to prioritize yourself, because only when you care for yourself will you be in a position to take care of your family and to take care of your community. We as black men, we have to be able to teach our sons that expressing your emotions is not feminine. Releasing those emotions is actually letting all of that negativity out. It's called breathing, folks. You take in what is beneficial and you get out the poison. Teach our sons that we have centuries of poison within us, and it is their responsibility to breathe. Teach them that expressing who and what you are and how you feel is a part of their manhood. And there's nothing feminine or quote unquote bitch about it. This society is teaching our young boys that the only acceptable behaviors for them, the only acceptable expression of emotion is in the form of laughter and anger. Those are the two choices for black men when we are behaving and we are trying to be men. You are either angry or you are a fucking clown. That is it. We will only accept one another when we are fucking clowning around or when we are killing one another. Those plantations told you that you had two choices. You either work hard, put your head down and say nothing and feel nothing, or you tap dance for that man when he needs your entertainment. So the goal isn't to avoid being white, gay, a bitch. The goal is to reclaim what has been renamed. Maybe being in nature isn't white, maybe it's just human. And maybe taking care of yourself is not gay, it's called maintenance and it is necessary. And maybe expressing emotion is not being bitch, it's actually strength. So I want you to think about, what parts have you denied yourself because you were trying to become a man? And who you actually could become if you gave yourself permission to take those parts back. Black manhood does not have to be defined by restriction. It can be defined by truth, by growth, by wholeness, and by courage. The courage to actually unlearn something that we used as survival back then, but that presently does not serve us, our families, or our communities. Black manhood can actually be an expression of freedom. This has been another episode of Notes to the Sun. I'm your host, KGB, and go ahead and pass this on to somebody who you believe actually might need this. And until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and your truth. In other words, man up.